So the size of Nigeria's economy is expected to reach $454.05 billion by the end of this year, and that's according to Trading Economics, in line with global macro models and analyst expectations. In terms of GDP growth, the country is expected to report a drop to 3.2% this year, with a difference of 0.2% as contained in the July 2022 projection by the International Monetary Fund. The IMF estimates that by 2023, Nigeria's inflation will have decreased to 17% from a projected 19%. January's inflation report is due out on Wednesday, the 15th, from the Statistics Office. Let me chat now to this and more as we bring on the show Oladipo Ajayi. He is the head of fixed income desk at Chapel Hill, Denham. Great having you connected to the studios tonight. It's good to have you on the show.
Good evening, Watson. Nice having you two around.
Thank you. Thank you. What's your outlook on Nigeria's macroeconomic performance or indices in the current first quarter in the face of the hotly contested elections? February 25 is around the corner. We have the new Naira notes issue. We've got the petrol scarcity, among other headwinds. What's your outlook on what the macroeconomic variables will look like at the end of the quarter?
So, look at the macroeconomic variables for this quarter. I think it's not going to be something positive for the economy. If you look at the GDP for the quarter, I'll be surprised if I see anything north of like 1.2%. And one of the reasons why I feel so is because when you look at the environment currently, since the month of January to now, we have an issue with fuel scarcity, which is actually affecting the business activities. And also, to make matter worse, the issue of the currency swap also came in. And as we speak, this is actually hurting business seriously. And on the back of this, we feel that this will affect the GDP growth for the first quarter. And that's one of the reasons why I feel it's not going to be something extraordinary. And also, if you look at let's look at the inflation figure. And although in the month of December, we saw inflation figure, the headline inflation dropped by 13 basis points from 21.47 to 21.34. And also, we've noticed that the food side of the inflation figure actually dropped about 13 basis points. But the core inflation went up by 25 basis points. And I think it's also a cause for concern because we know that the end has not come. It's just more like a little retracement in the inflation figure. And that's one of the reasons why we saw the Monetary Policy Committee remain bullish in their attempt to actually put inflation under control. And that's why we are not surprised with the 100 basis point rate hike that we saw in the month of January. So for us, we feel that by the end of the quarter, I won't be surprised for another rate hike in the month of March. And it might not be as aggressive as what we saw in the month of January. But I won't be surprised to actually see another because we expect inflation figure to actually continue to actually go on the rise, considering our current economic environment.
So do you think the little retrace that we saw in inflation in the month of December, the Statistics Office is due to release January dates on Wednesday. What's your take? Do you think we'll see a figure that looks a little bit like December, or you think things have turned around a little bit this last month and now inflation could still remain a little bit highly at the previous elevated level?
So what we feel will happen is that in the month of January, we expect inflation to go nuts compared to what we saw. It means that the headline inflation will actually increase more than the 21.34% that we saw in the month of December. And it would have been worse than what would have expected, but the stability in the FX market, more from the parallel market view, has been one of the reasons why we've not been seeing that sharp movement upside in the inflation figure. However, looking at what we saw in the month of January, the fuel scarcity, which we feel that will also filter and have effect on the inflation figure. And also, we feel that the food inflation will also have would not enjoy what we saw in the in the month of December. We will likely see an uptick in the food inflation, but maybe not as aggressive as the downward trend that we saw in the month of December. But we feel that all in all, the headline inflation will actually go nuts.
Well, if I could stretch that a little bit further, do you think February inflation when it comes in with the new Naira notes issue and the old Naira notes, by the way, because currently we have scarcity of both. So then, of course, you have the election itself. Do you think inflation would tend to go a little bit north from between February and March to end the first quarter, the Q1?
Yeah, I think that's part of what the monetary policy guys saw why they went bullish in the January meeting. They knew that, knowing fully well that the policy, the end line of some of the policy on the table will further contract the economy and will make things work in this direction. And for us, we feel that the month of February will also be worse because nothing has changed from what we saw in the month of January. Rather, things have even gotten worse because as we speak now, people are finding it very difficult to actually access cash. And as some businesses that actually try basically on cash, they've been finding it very difficult to actually transact.
Okay, sorry, we'll also there momentarily. Oladipo Ajayi, the head of Fixed Income Desk at Chapel Hill, Denham, thank you so much for your thoughts. We lost that connection to you there momentarily. Thank you so much.